For us, evidence-based policies and data-driven solutions are very important, and that's why we have partnered lately with the Bureaucracy Lab to conduct a few surveys in the region that are of great value for us. We have partnered, for example, with the Bureaucracy Lab to collect evidence on digital skills in a subnational government in Argentina to actually strengthen our dialogue with the government, with the national government for their loan, to see how they can support a subnational government in improving the digital skills of their civil servants. And we have partnered with countries like Honduras, Brazil, and Serena will talk about Uruguay to actually better diagnose human resource management systems and inform policy reforms that are that have evidence-based and are data-driven. For us, these surveys have supported the dialogue with the governments and are very important in defining our policy options. And we really want to highlight the collaboration between our group in LAC and the global unit and the Bureaucracy Lab. And we really see that we complement each other in providing higher quality analytical work for our clients.
Our work on this survey and on this analysis was guided by the conceptual framework used by the Bureaucracy Lab. This is the version that was used for the HRMRAS, and I decided to keep it for this presentation just because I think it illustrates very well our thinking in terms of this analysis. So we structured the analysis of the survey results around, on one hand, how the public administration can recruit the right personnel, so how we can get the right inputs into the machine, so to say, and on the other hand, how can we keep them motivated through the various human resource management functions? Because we think that these are really amongst the two most important determinants of the attitudes and behaviors of bureaucrats, and eventually this determines their performance and the performance and effectiveness of the overall government. Much relies on testing legal knowledge. So in the first phase, in the written exam, that basically is solely reliant on testing legal knowledge. And the survey also shows that even the second stage, which is the job interview, has very little on skills. In fact, only half of our respondents said that they were asked questions on, for example, soft skills, even though this is something mandated by law. And even more interestingly, even amongst those who can be promoted, 18% said that they're not interested in promotion, which then makes us think about how managers really need to think about some other ways to keep their staff motivated. And on the graph here, you can also see the institutional variance in terms of staff confidence in promotion. Which then again makes us think about how different institutions have to differentiate between their approaches to motivate their staff.
This survey has underlined the fact that the recruitment process in Romania is not really based on meritocracy. Does not ensure selecting the most qualified and driven applicants, and also it seems to be only a system and a process that emphasizes the candidate's legal knowledge, not the competency necessary in order to better perform and effectively perform within the job in civil service. Also related to the performance management, we have observed that it's only a compliance-oriented tool. It's only formal. 90% of the respondents said it's done only because the law says it has to be done, but it's not regularly conducted, and that does not give good feedback to the people that are evaluated, and do not clarify all the required objectives, and does not really offers the possibility to develop the capacity of the public employees. Also, it has been more clear for us that the managers and the high position managers need people management skills training. So, based on the recommendation that the World Bank has issued for Romania, I just want to underline a couple of them that we have identified as being priorities for our countries. They have proposed a new recruitment policy for the civil servants, a national competition, and a second stage competition based on the selection on the job. And we have fortunately for us, the European Union, we have this possibility to apply for EU funding. And thanks to EU funding, we are right now within the middle of a project that is going to deploy the platform and all the methodology in order to implement and to pilot the national competition.
I think it's great to have a webinar with both our studies, because I think it's also very instructive to see how in two different countries a similar initiative, so in this case the survey study, actually originated from different backgrounds, generated different empirical findings, but also some similarities in our results, and led to different outcomes in terms of informing reforms. These diagnostics also identified some knowledge gaps and the need to collect additional data on dimensions that cannot be captured from administrative data or international indicators, such as perceptions, satisfaction, and motivation. And the civil servant surveys has the objectives of filling these knowledge gaps, in particular to understand attitude and motivations of civil servants, analyze HRM practices, understand the differences across entities and across demographic groups, and ultimately provide evidence to inform and support the reform efforts in the public administration in Uruguay. The survey shows that in Uruguay, the strongest HRM dimensions are teamwork, recruitment, and leadership. And the weakest dimensions are trainings, promotions, absenteeism, compensations, and mobility. So now at this point, it's useful to think back at the conceptual framework that Anita presented before. And at the Bureaucracy Lab, we typically use that conceptual framework to guide the design and analysis of HRM surveys. And because we theorize that HRM practices influence satisfaction, motivation, and retention of public sector employees. And indeed, this is what we find in Uruguay as well. We find that the quality of HRM practices is positively correlated with the satisfaction with own job and with the sense of belonging to own entity. And it is also negatively correlated with job search and willingness to move to a different entity within the public sector. And so it's interesting to note also that job satisfaction is more strongly related to intrinsic factors such as teamwork and leadership, while on the contrary, job search is more strongly related to promotions and compensations. And this evidence is interesting because it suggests that intrinsic factors should be central in strategies to keep workers motivated and satisfied.
First of all, well, making this kind of service is critical for us, for the Civil Service Office here in Uruguay, because we are creating data that is not existent in our country so far. So this is, for example, the first survey we have in our country that asks about motivation in public servants or for public servants. So the aim of this office is to increase this kind of studies, which many of them we like to feel that give voice to public servants. But the most important thing I would like to stress is that this survey and the information of this kind help us to support our reform agenda, and that's probably the most important thing for us. In the first place, because the survey shed light to some issues that are common knowledge within the administration, but now we are putting numbers to it. Now we have some numbers about problems that Serena mentioned. For example, the lack of mobility, the inequalities in remunerations, the problems of promotion, the problem of absenteeism, which it was not something we didn't expect to find out that public workers are concerned, or in that level anyway, are concerned about absenteeism as an issue. I think at least here in in this office, we didn't expect to have these numbers in terms of the issue of absenteeism. So we are putting numbers to this, and this really helps to make our case, let's say, in terms of the reform agenda we are trying to push forward, in terms of a new civil service career based on occupations. We are trying to design for next year, hopefully, a new performance evaluation system. Of course, we are, as many countries as well, we are trying to push forward the digital agenda. We have some good advance there, but we have to push forward even more. So this survey is a great baseline in terms of the perception of workers, and it tells us that we are somehow aligned with the perception and the issues that the public workers believe or have, and the public policies we are trying to push forward in government. So the data we collect is not to be left aside at all. It's not for us just another survey, just another data we have. On the contrary, it helps us to make our case, as I was saying, in terms of reform that our country needs.